What's up, you guys? It's Benny and Amanda. We're in Birmingham. We are a little behind, so we're gonna do a few videos tonight. We last left our heroes traveling in Europe in Camden, London, and we traveled from London, from Camden Lock, Camden Town. Took 3 trains, a lot of shimmy shifting around, with like 5-minute changeovers to run from like 8 tracks downstairs, upstairs, and but made it to Salisbury, the little town of Salisbury. We stopped twice at that little coffee shop, Culture Coffee. A little shout out to them. Took a bus up to Amesbury, which is self-proclaimed home of Stonehenge, if you've heard of it.
Just a little, pile of rocks.
The locals call it the rocks, the stones.
Stones. You call it the rocks.
We should just start the whole thing. The stones. It's very confusing because the stones are the Rolling Stones. Anyway, both British.
I see the narrow pathway that you carved out for yourself, and it's okay.
The rock stones.
Yeah.
Okay, Barney, my pebble. That's Flintstones. All right. So anyway, which are also common in England. Not the cartoon, the actual stones. Anywho, we stayed in Airbnb with this lady named Samantha or Sam.
She was kind enough to let us drop our bags off before we went sightseeing, because I can't imagine lugging all of our stuff.
Especially
in the
given
English
the path
countryside
that we took. So
which is important to touch on, because we stopped by her house just like she was standing in her driveway chatting to a neighbor, which was a huge green flag that she's just well liked in her neighborhood. Yeah. And she was so warm to us
really cute
immediately. And we dropped off our bags and chatted a little bit, and she asked us what we had lined up for the day, and we said we were there to see Stonehenge. And
just as a precursor, I think like most people on Airbnb, they write a pretty like protective profile, especially if they live alone. It's like, these are the rules of the house, etc., etc. And she was COVID conscious, and asked these things, kind of background stuff for us to make sure we were going to be safe in her home.
She has a big trip lined up,
yeah.
Also, so I can also understand wanting to really protect that investment in time. So not wanting to endanger herself any more than necessary.
Especially for some random Americans. Yeah. So anyway, but as soon as we got there, she was very warm, and I think we just kind of hit it off as human beings, and we kind of told her what we were up to, and she said, well, I don't have anything going on, and told us kind of the locals' way to get to Stonehenge, which involved
climbing a fence.
Yeah, aka jumping, climbing a fence, but it's like onto National Trust land, next to these cottages. In America, we definitely would have been shot. We would have been shot. But in England, they're like, yeah, go ahead. Watch out for the cow pies and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was about maybe a mile.
Yeah.
To Stonehenge, but you could see it the whole walk. So you're like coming over the hill, and it's like, oh.
It was also just another. We've really had a wild streak of good luck with the weather our entire time here, and it was just the most beautiful pastoral mile walk in like kind of low brush, lots of wildflowers. There was like really dynamic cloud cover overhead.
Cows and sheep on our right.
And also like kind of let up dramatically. It was like enough of a crest of a hill where you the second that you sort of like reach the top of it, you can see.
And you don't realize this when you see pictures of it in books or whatever, TV. There's like a highway.
It's next
kind
to
of
like
a right next
highway.
to it, and the whole time we're walking, we're just watching traffic like stack up. Mm-hmm. But anyway, you kind of walk through this field, and you end up right next to where people are actually in, I don't know if you can call it an exhibit, but like on the grounds. And so you could theoretically go and kind of take pictures of it from maybe 100 yards. But Sam had suggested we just go and kind of jump on the bus back to the visitors center,
which is
check in, watch the exhibits, 5-minute bus ride.
right. But
Check
it's
in,
farther away
do
from
the
actual
exhibit,
site.
all those stuff, and then actually go and see the exhibit, because she just thought having the background and the history and the presentation would be more useful of a way to kind of enjoy what you're seeing.
And she was right. It's always good to read up on it. Plus, most exhibits like that always have, you know, things that they've uncovered during archaeological digs. It's not just about visiting the site. It's kind of about understanding it.
Paints a picture for you, or at least sets it up for you to paint the picture in your head.
Yeah.
It's called history. Look it up. Yeah, we went in, did the exhibit. They had these, oh shoot, I'm going to forget the name of the village. Like the folks that were around contemporaneously, and they believed that Durrington Walls, which is just maybe a couple miles northeast of Stonehenge, and where there's a little thing called a Woodhenge, and they were the folks that were believed to be around during that time. And so they had these little huts / buildings they believed they lived in, what they looked like. You could walk around in them. Also pretty cool.
They look like little Keebler elf kind of thatched roof, straw house situations.
Yeah, they reminded me of like some Indonesian kind of village, Hawaiian kind of hut, thatched roof hut. Kind of
My friend Jordan Parro said that the existence of a wood and a Stonehenge would lead you to believe that there was also at one point a Strawhenge.
Yeah, Strawhenge. Harder to keep around for thousands of years.
Preceding the extinction event of the Big Bad Wolf.
Yeah. What's just right?
You're thinking of Goldilocks.
No. The Stonehenge lasts longer. My bad. Got it. Yeah, you're right. I like porridge. Okay, so that's Goldilocks. All right, whatever. So we take the bus, we go back to the Stones, and it's hard to describe not somber, but everyone's kind of library voices for the most part. For the most part, there were kids and stuff, but reverent maybe is the right word. Like people were allowing everyone space to kind of walk around. You walk all the way around it, and yes, a couple people have written me and told me there are like tours where you can go at night or very early in the morning and walk through the stones. This is a budget trip, kind of, sort of. We're doing the best we can, but I did look into it, and A, it didn't really fit our schedule, and B, it was...
it's also a time budget concern.
A time budget, yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. We wouldn't be able to eat for a week, but we could go walk amongst the stones. No, it was great. And we took a trillion pictures, videos, a lot of reading, a lot of things. You think it's just, well, in my head, I thought it was just the stones, the circles that they're actually in the thing. There's also, these little holes, 65 holes all the way on the outside where they had found some cremated remains. So it's like partial burial. Not all 65 though. It's kind of interesting. And then there's like the mound, almost moat kind of looking thing around the outside that they think was actually predated the stone. So it's
the whole structure is also not just kind of like one day there was a dirt patch and one day there was Stonehenge. It's kind of like a construction site that's like 1,000 years in the making. So, it might have originally been kind of like Woodhenge where it was all like timber materials. Somebody might have... Yeah, exactly. But so it's not just like one thing where like somebody's like had this like prehistorical blueprint and said, we're going to build this structure. It's been sort of constructed and added onto over the course of a very long time.
Or destructed.
So it has served probably a lot of different uses, but it seems like the majority use was kind of like a spiritual gathering center, especially in coincidence with like the solstices and equinox, which is
very specific. Like I put in my Instagram stories, but I just said it's like prehistoric precision, which is such an impressive thing. And so my theory, because I know you asked, was that Woodhenge was like a sample. It was much easier to cut down and carve trees than it is to bring these gigantic stones, maybe not thousands, but hundreds of miles from the ocean, because they're only found in like one. They were able to date and sample these stones and find out where they were from, which is like very far away up the coast in England. Whereas the kind of inner circle stones were only 20 miles up the road.
They're two different kinds of stones.
So in my head, I was like, all right. So they used Woodhenge was like, all right, did we get the angle of the sun? Did we get the season? You know, like all the, we can sample it out while all these folks are out fetching the real deal.
The high value building materials.
Yeah. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. Woodhenge now, so it was, the evidence for Woodhenge was discovered probably in like the 19th century, and they just basically
by
found...
a woman, if I recall.
By a couple that were...
Sorry. Yeah.
Well...
I just saw the picture of her.
She's like giving credit.
I can't read words, so I just saw her picture.
I think she's... but at any rate, they kind of just found the evidence of like timber poles that were Woodhenge, and then what they decided to do was create concrete pillars to preserve the site. So my working theory is that maybe somebody just like put wood in where they noticed evidence, and for, you know, millennia, nobody's really known what it was used for.
Yeah.
It's all just placeholders that we assign meaning to.
AKA life. Period.
Very existential.
Yeah, that's all right. We spent a good amount of time there, walking around, saying hello to people's dogs, watching other people, watching the stones. We got like the other thing I kind of noticed as we walked around, even maybe a half hour, 45 minutes as we walked around, like the weather would change. We got a little bit of rain. It would like get real sunny and blue sky, and then it would be dark. So every time you kind of moved, not only did like your view of the stones change, but like their color, the sky, the darkness. It was very neat. It was cool.
There's like a couple of little fruit and ice cream vendors kind of parked right outside it. So we had some like local strawberries and some whipped cream to snack on, which is very nice.
Strawberries and cream. It was quite good. Then our Sam told us we could also walk to Woodhenge and the Cuckoo Stone.
Cuckoo Stone is significant because it's the same material as one of the
big bigs
stones.
Sargon stone.
Sarsen.
Thank you.
I think.
Sauron.
But they're not right next to each other. They're quite a walk from each other.
They were quite a walk, and basically, like, you just go on Google Maps, and it's like a big fields that every once in a while, at least on Google Maps, there's like a path, but they're grass, so the path changes every season depending like wherever it gets worn down. Anyway, we found it. It was quite beautiful.
It was very beautiful. There were lots of aside from the pasture land, there were lots of really hedgy areas with blackberry brambles. So we got to forage for snacks.
That's right.
Also, that was very nice.
Yeah. So we saw that stuff. Walked back into town. It was a little ways, but we found a really nice.
Altogether, it was probably like 5 miles that day.
Oh, that we walked over 5, almost 5.5.
You know, broken up. It's not like we did it all in one go. So.
Yeah, and we didn't have our bags. So.
That also helps.
Had a nice Italian meal, came home, and we were like, we're tired, we're gonna go to bed. But we walked in the door, and Sam was like, what are all the things you've done? And we started to tell her, and she was like, oh, why don't we just hang out and chat for a little bit? So it was very nice to catch up with and, you know, learn a little bit more about her. I thought that was very sweet.
She's like the most interesting person in the world. Like,
she is true.
Just so much fun to converse with, and
yeah, like I said, we just kind of hit it off.
Yeah.
And it's nice when you find people. We've had a few interactions with folks here across the board. Nothing negative, but just across the board of different types of people and different experiences. And she was just so engaging and wonderful. And she had one friendly cat and one just cat.
One cat that had yet to be won over by us.
Yeah, that's right. By anybody.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was our day in Amesbury / Salisbury. And do you have anything you want to say else more about? Oh, we also found out, like everywhere we've been here, that like 10 miles away was another even more
after the fact
killer standing stone. Listen, we're coming back. We're coming back.
Eye of the beholder, but there is a site in Amesbury. Avesbury with a V. That
no S. I think it's Avebury. Sorry, I just want to get it right.
Yeah. Somewhere else
somewhere close that sounds very similar.
That predates Stonehenge, is larger, and what was kind of the third other fascinating thing? Anyway, just another one in existence that also is just very fascinating in terms of prehistory.
But I think that's everywhere in countries and in Europe where it's just been around so long. There's just history kind of everywhere. And so
there's prehistory where we live.
That's true. But I mean, I'm saying here, like it's 10 minutes away, where in our country it's like a state away. Just saying. Or at least it's preserved in a way that's not as nearby.
The preservation's different.
Yes. Anyway, awesome. We're definitely gonna have to come back because now we gotta see Avebury, and we've got friends that live up that way. So I really should have put this all together.
After the fact, everybody was just coming out of the woodwork. Like either they've lived in the area or were visiting the same week.
My friend sent me a photo and was like, "We know this guy that was also at Stonehenge at the same time as you. Did you see him?" And I was like, "What?" I didn't see anybody. I just saw the stones. I even got some.
That's what that bracelet is. That's what that gesture meant.
Yeah, they're made. These little stones are made from the same stones in the inner circle, the blue stones.
These little puppies right
or
here.
we call them the bloop stones. Anyway, we'll see you on the next video, guys. What's tomorrow? AKA yesterday.
Birmingham.
Birmingham. All right. See ya.